The champagne glass shattered against the marble floor 6 inches from Claire's feet, and she didn't even flinch anymore. That was the problem. 3 years with Derek had taught her to stand perfectly still when he was angry, to make herself small, to disappear into the wallpaper of their penthouse apartment while he raged about imagined slights and perceived disrespect. "You embarrassed me," Derek hissed, his face inches from hers, his breath hot and sour with expensive scotch. Talking to him, laughing at his jokes like some desperate. "He was your business partner," Claire whispered, her voice steady even as her hands trembled behind her back. "I was being polite. You told me to be polite." "Don't interrupt me." His hand shot out, gripping her chin hard enough to bruise, forcing her to meet his bloodshot eyes. "You know what? We're done. Get out. Get out of my apartment." This wasn't the first time. Derek had thrown her out twice before, always late at night, always after drinking, always taking her back the next morning with flowers and apologies that felt increasingly hollow. But something in Claire's chest cracked open this time. Maybe it was the way her jaw already ached from his fingers. Maybe it was the look in his eyes, not anger anymore, but something colder. Calculation. Like he was testing how much she'd take. She grabbed her purse and walked out with whatever dignity she could salvage, wearing a cocktail dress and heels at 11:30 on a Tuesday night, with nowhere to go and $17 in her wallet because Derek controlled all their accounts. The November rain started as she reached the street, cold and punishing. Soaking through her thin wrap, her phone had 3% battery. Her best friend Melissa was in California for work. Her parents had passed 5 years ago. The few friends she'd had before Derek had slowly faded away, tired of her excuses, tired of watching her shrink. Claire found herself walking without direction through downtown, past the glossy storefronts and trendy restaurants where people laughed and lived normal lives. Her heels clicked against wet pavement, and mascara ran down her cheeks, mixing with rain and tears she refused to acknowledge. She didn't notice the black car cruising slowly beside her until the back window rolled down. "Get in." The voice was deep, authoritative, and completely unfamiliar. Claire's survival instincts finally kicked in. She kept walking, hugging herself against the cold, ignoring the sleek Mercedes that matched her pace. "You're soaked. It's November. Get in the car." "I'm fine," she called out, not looking, picking up her pace. Her teeth were chattering now. "You're not fine. You're hypothermic and walking through the warehouse district at midnight. Get in, or I'll get out and put you in myself." Something in his tone made her stop and turn. Not a threat exactly. More like someone who expected to be obeyed and wasn't used to hearing no. Through the open window, she could see him clearly under the streetlight. Late 30s, maybe 40. Dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from stone, all sharp angles and intense eyes that assessed her with unsettling focus. He wore a black suit that probably cost more than her car used to. Before Derek convinced her to sell it because couples don't need 2 vehicles. "I don't get into cars with strangers," Claire said, but her voice shook from cold and exhaustion. "Vincent Moretti." He opened the door from inside, revealing leather seats and warm air that called to her freezing skin. "Now, we're not strangers. Get in." Every reasonable bone in her body screamed no. But Claire was so cold she couldn't feel her fingers, so tired she could barely stand, and something about the way he looked at her, not with pity, but with a kind of irritated concern, made her feel less pathetic than she had in hours. She got in. The warmth hit her immediately, and she couldn't stop the small sound of relief that escaped. Vincent handed her a wool coat from the seat beside him without a word, and she wrapped it around herself gratefully. Breathing in the scent of expensive cologne and something else. Gunpowder, maybe. Leather. and danger. "Where do you need to go?" he asked as the driver pulled smoothly away from the curb. That was the question, wasn't it? Claire stared at her hands, at the red marks on her wrist from earlier that were already darkening. "I don't know." "Hotel?" "I don't have my credit cards. I don't have anything." The admission burned in her throat. Vincent was quiet for a moment, studying her with those unnervingly direct eyes. She could feel him taking in the expensive dress, the designer heels, the diamond studs Derek had given her for her birthday, taking in the bruises forming on her skin, putting pieces together. "What's your name?" "Claire." "Claire, I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to answer honestly. Are you in danger? Do I need to handle something for you tonight?" The way he said "handle" sent a chill down her spine that had nothing to do with the cold. There was a weight to it, an implication. "No," she said quickly. "No, I just need somewhere to sleep. I'll figure everything out tomorrow." Vincent pulled out his phone, typing something quickly. "I have a property, guest house behind the main residence. It's empty, furnished, private. You can stay there tonight. Tomorrow we'll reassess." "I can't accept that. I don't know you." "You got in my car." That might have been a mistake. The corner of his mouth twitched, almost a smile. "Probably. But you're here now, and I'm not leaving you on the street." He said it matter-of-factly, like her well-being had somehow become his responsibility in the last 5 minutes. Claire should have argued more, should have demanded to be dropped at a shelter or a 24-hour diner. But she was so tired, and he was offering kindness without asking for her story or making her explain Derek or wanting anything in return that she could see. "Just tonight," she whispered. "Just tonight," he agreed, but something in his eyes suggested he was lying. The estate was in the hills outside the city, behind gates that opened automatically as they approached. Even in the dark and rain, Claire could see manicured grounds, the hulking silhouette of a mansion that belonged in European architecture magazines. The guest house Vincent led her to was larger than the apartment she'd shared with Derek, all warm wood and soft lighting and windows that probably had million-dollar views in daylight. Kitchen's stocked. Bathroom has everything you need. Doors lock from the inside. Vincent handed her a key. "Main house is through the garden if you need anything. I'll have some clothes brought over in the morning." "Why are you helping me?" Claire asked, finally voicing the question that had been burning in her mind. Vincent looked at her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. "Because someone should. Lock the door behind me." He left before she could respond, his footsteps silent on the stone path back to the main house. Claire locked the door, then checked it twice, then wedged a chair under the handle because old habits died hard. She found sweats in a drawer that were too big but clean, took a shower so hot it hurt, and crawled into a bed with sheets that felt like clouds. She meant to stay awake, meant to plan her next move. But her body had other ideas, and she sank into sleep like drowning, too exhausted even for dreams. She woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the smell of coffee. For one blissful moment, she didn't remember. Then it all crashed back. Derek, the street, Vincent Moretti and his dangerous kindness. Someone had left a tray outside her door, coffee, fresh pastries, a stack of clothes in her size still bearing designer tags, a note in bold handwriting. "Take your time. We'll talk when you're ready. V." The clothes fit perfectly. Someone had assessed her size with unsettling accuracy. Claire dressed in soft jeans and a cashmere sweater that probably cost more than she used to make in a week at the gallery. Before Derek convinced her to quit because "my girlfriend doesn't need to work." She found Vincent on the terrace of the main house, reading a newspaper and drinking espresso like a scene from a mafia movie. In daylight, he was even more striking, handsome in a way that wasn't quite safe. Sharp suit, sharp eyes, sharp everything. "Did you sleep?" he asked without preamble. "Better than I have in months," Claire admitted. "Thank you for the clothes. And the room. I'll pay you back." "No, you won't." He gestured to the chair across from him. "Sit. Eat something. You're too thin." "You don't know my normal weight." "I know when someone hasn't been taking care of themselves." Claire sat, defensive walls rising. "You don't know anything about me. I know your ex-boyfriend put his hands on you. I know he controls your money. I know you were walking through the most dangerous part of the city last night with nothing and nowhere to go." Vincent's voice was calm, but his eyes had gone cold. "What's his name?" "It doesn't matter. It matters to me. Why? You don't know me. This isn't your problem." Vincent set down his coffee with deliberate care. "I'm making it my problem. Name Claire." The command in his voice should have made her bristle, but instead she found herself answering. "Derek Hartwell." Something flickered across Vincent's face. Recognition, maybe. The real estate developer. "You know him?" "I know of him. He owes money to people I know. Has a reputation for making bad decisions." Vincent's smile was sharp enough to cut. That reputation just got worse. "Don't!" Claire stood abruptly. "Whatever you're thinking, don't. I don't need rescuing. I don't need some man swooping in to fix my problems. I just need time to figure things out. Sit down. Don't tell me what to. Please, sit down." The addition of that single word changed everything. A request instead of an order. Claire sat. Vincent leaned back, studying her with that unnerving focus. "You're right. You don't need rescuing. You need resources. I have resources. Let me help." "Why? What do you want from me?" "Nothing." He said it simply, but Claire had learned not to trust simple. Everyone wants something. Then consider it an investment. You're clearly smart, clearly capable when you're not being systematically broken down by an insecure man-child. I invest in potential. Vincent pushed a business card across the table. "This is my lawyer. Best in the state. He'll help you get your assets back, file protection orders, whatever you need, no charge." Claire stared at the card. "What do you do, Vincent? Really?" "Import-export, shipping, various business ventures." "That's not an answer." "It's the answer you're getting today." He stood, buttoning his jacket. "Stay here as long as you need. The guest house is yours. Marcello will drive you anywhere you want to go. I have business in the city." He was halfway to the door when Claire called out, "Why do you carry a gun?" Vincent turned, one eyebrow raised. "How do you know I carry a gun?" "I saw the outline under your jacket when you moved. Derek was obsessed with firearms. I learned to spot them." For the first time, Vincent smiled, really smiled, and it transformed his entire face from dangerous to devastating. "Because I work in industries where people sometimes disagree with my methods. Stay out of trouble, Claire." He left her there, coffee growing cold, mind spinning. She should leave, should walk away from this strange man and his mysterious kindness and the way he looked at her like she mattered. But Derek had cleaned out their joint account before changing the locks, had probably already spread lies to their mutual acquaintances, and Claire was so tired of having nowhere safe to land. She stayed, the days developed a rhythm. Vincent left early, returned late. Sometimes he'd find her reading in the garden and they'd talk, really talk. He asked about her life before Derek, her degree in art history, her dreams of opening her own gallery someday. She asked careful questions about his work, and he gave careful answers that revealed nothing and everything. "You're connected," she said one evening after he'd casually mentioned having dinner with the mayor. "I'm well networked. You're an organized crime." Vincent didn't deny it. "Does that frighten you?" Claire considered. It should. It absolutely should. But Derek had been perfectly legal and had terrorized her for years. Vincent was probably a criminal and had shown her nothing but respect. "No," she admitted. "Is that wrong?" "Probably." That almost smile again. "Your ex has been calling my office." Claire's stomach dropped. "What?" "Apparently someone told him you were seen getting into my car. He's been leaving messages, wants to discuss the situation." Vincent's tone made it clear what he thought of that. "I should leave. I don't want to cause problems for you." "Claire." Vincent moved closer, and she caught that scent again, cologne and danger. "Men like Derek Hartwell don't cause problems for men like me. They are problems I solve. Say the word, and I'll make him disappear from your life permanently." The way he said permanently sent ice and fire through her veins simultaneously. "I don't want you to hurt him." "I wasn't planning to. I was planning to ruin him financially and socially. But if you prefer, I can adjust the approach." Claire laughed despite herself, despite everything. "You're insane." "I'm effective." Vincent's expression sobered. "You're safe here. I need you to believe that." "I do." And shockingly, she meant it. "That's what scares me." Something shifted between them in that moment. Vincent raised his hand slowly, telegraphing the movement, giving her every chance to pull away. His fingers brushed her cheek with devastating gentleness. "I would never hurt you," he said quietly. "Everyone says that. I'm not everyone." No, he certainly wasn't. The night it happened, Claire had been staying in the guest house for 2 weeks. Vincent's lawyer had been brilliant. Derek was tied up in legal proceedings, her assets were being recovered, and a restraining order was in place. She'd started sleeping through the night, started gaining back weight, started feeling like herself again. Vincent had invited her to dinner at the main house. Nothing formal, just pasta and wine and conversation that flowed like water. He made her laugh talking about a business associate's disastrous attempt at money laundering through a fake charity. She made him laugh describing her college roommate's ill-fated pottery phase. It felt dangerously normal. "Stay?" Vincent said when she stood to leave, wine warm and comfortable. "It's late. The guest house is cold tonight. Heating system is being repaired tomorrow." It was a transparent excuse. They both knew it. Claire should have said no, should have recognized the line they were approaching. But she was tired of being afraid, tired of denying that something had been building between them since that first night in the rain. "Okay," she whispered. Vincent's house had 12 bedrooms. He gave her the one furthest from his own, respected boundaries she hadn't even drawn. But Claire couldn't sleep in the enormous bed, couldn't settle, and finally padded down the hall in borrowed pajamas to find him still awake, reading in his room. "Can't sleep?" he asked, looking up. "Too quiet? Too big? I don't know." Claire hovered in the doorway. Can I stay here? Just to sleep? I don't want to be alone." Something tender crossed Vincent's face. He pulled back the covers on the far side of his king bed without a word. Claire climbed in, maintaining a careful distance, her heart hammering. Vincent turned off the light and settled beside her, close enough to feel his warmth but not touching. "Thank you," she breathed into the darkness. "Sleep, Claire. You're safe." And she did. Sank into it deeply, the wine and warmth and feeling of safety pulling her under completely. Too completely. The dream came like it always did. Derek's face twisted in rage, his hands rough and cruel, the trapped feeling of those years closing around her throat. In the dream, she was trying to get away, trying to be smaller, trying to survive. Vincent woke to Claire's small, broken voice cutting through the silence at 3 a.m. "Don't hurt me again. Please don't hurt me again." She was still asleep, curled into a defensive ball on her side of the bed, tears tracking down her face in the moonlight. Her hands were raised slightly, protective, warding off blows from an absent attacker. Vincent went absolutely still. He'd seen violence. He'd caused violence. He'd grown up in a world where strength meant survival and weakness meant death. But watching this strong, brilliant woman reduced to begging in her sleep, watching her flinch from ghosts, something inside him cracked open and reformed into something harder and more dangerous. Carefully, so carefully. He pulled back the covers and got out of bed. Claire didn't wake, still trapped in whatever nightmare held her. Vincent grabbed his keys from the dresser, his phone, his jacket. He paused at the door to look back at her one more time, memorizing the sight, letting it fuel the cold rage building in his chest. Then he left. Marcello was used to late-night calls. "I need Derek Hartwell's location, now." "Boss, it's 3 a.m. Did I stutter?" 15 minutes later, Vincent had an address, Derek's penthouse, the same one he'd thrown Claire out of. Vincent made 2 more calls on the drive into the city, the first to his lawyer, the second to someone who didn't ask questions. The doorman at Derek's building took one look at Vincent's face and stepped aside without a word. Smart man. Vincent took the elevator to the penthouse. Knocked once. Pounded, really. Derek opened the door in a monogrammed robe, irritation clear on his soft face. "Do you have any idea what time—" He stopped when he registered who was standing there. "Moretti, I've been trying to reach you." "I know." Vincent stepped inside without invitation, forcing Derek back. "We need to talk about Claire." Derek's expression shifted to something ugly. "That's what this is about? You're sleeping with my girlfriend?" "Ex-girlfriend, and what I'm doing is keeping her safe from you." "Safe?" Derek laughed, high and nervous. "From me? I gave her everything. That ungrateful—" Vincent moved fast, slamming Derek against the wall with a hand around his throat, not choking, just controlling. "Choose your next words very carefully." Derek's eyes went wide with fear, and Vincent felt nothing but cold satisfaction. This man had terrorized Claire for years, had put bruises on her skin and fear in her eyes, and now he knew what it felt like to be powerless. "Here's what's going to happen," Vincent said quietly. "You're going to drop all legal proceedings against Claire. You're going to return every cent you took from the joint accounts, plus $50,000 for her trouble. You're going to sign a statement admitting to the abuse. Yes, abuse, don't pretend, which my lawyer will hold as insurance. And you're going to disappear from her life completely." "And if I don't?" Derek choked out. Vincent smiled, and it was not a nice smile. "Then I'll release documentation of your financial crimes to the FBI. The fraud, the embezzlement, the money laundering through shell companies. I've had people digging into your life for 2 weeks, Derek. You're not nearly as clever as you think." "You're bluffing." "Am I?" Vincent pulled out his phone with his free hand, showing Derek the first page of a very thick file. Wire fraud, tax evasion, misappropriation of investor funds. I could go on. You'll spend the next 20 years in federal prison unless you do exactly what I say. He released Derek, stepping back, adjusting his jacket. Derek slumped against the wall, face pale. "Why?" Derek gasped. "Why do you even care about her?" Vincent considered the question. Why did he care? He'd built a life on controlled emotions, on strategic relationships, on never letting anyone get close enough to matter. But Claire, with her quiet strength and sharp mind, and the way she'd slowly unfurled like a flower in the sun once she felt safe, Claire had gotten under his defenses without even trying. "Because she's worth 10 of you," Vincent said simply. "My lawyer will contact you tomorrow with the paperwork. Sign it. Disappear. If you ever contact her again, if you ever even think about her again, what I do to you will make federal prison look like a vacation. Understand?" Derek nodded frantically. Vincent left without another word, fury still simmering in his veins. But it wasn't enough. He made 3 more stops that night. Derek's primary business partners, all of whom owed Vincent favors or feared his influence. By dawn, Derek Hartwell's reputation in the city was ashes, and his business prospects had evaporated. Only then did Vincent drive back to the estate, back to Claire. He found her awake, standing in his bedroom looking panicked, still in her pajamas. "You left," she said accusingly when he appeared in the doorway. "I woke up and you were gone, and I thought—" She stopped, pressing her lips together. "What did you think? That I'd dreamed the good parts, that this was too good to be real, that you'd realized I'm not worth the trouble." Her voice broke on the last word. Vincent crossed to her in 3 strides, framing her face in his hands, forcing her to meet his eyes. "Listen to me very carefully. You are worth everything. Do you understand? Everything. You left at 3 in the morning because I needed to handle something." Claire's eyes widened as she took in his appearance, still in last night's clothes, tie loosened, a dangerous energy radiating off him. "What did you do? What needed to be done?" Vincent's thumbs brushed her cheekbones. "You talked in your sleep. Do you remember?" She flushed, looking away. "I have nightmares sometimes. I'm sorry if I woke you." "Claire, look at me." She did, reluctantly. "You said, 'Don't hurt me again.' You were crying, you were terrified, and I realized that every moment you spend afraid of shadows from your past is a moment Derek Hartwell is still hurting you." "So, what did you do?" she repeated, almost afraid of the answer. "I made sure he'll never hurt you again, never contact you, never threaten you, never exist in your world unless you choose to press charges, which I strongly recommend, but will support you either way." Vincent's voice gentled. "You're free, Claire." "Completely free." Tears spilled down her cheeks, and Vincent wiped them away with his thumbs. "How? I'm very good at solving problems." "Vincent, I don't want your thanks. I want you to understand something." He took a breath, and for the first time since she'd known him, he looked uncertain, vulnerable. "I didn't plan this. Didn't plan you. I was going to drop you at a hotel that first night, but then you got in my car and looked at me like I was the dangerous one when you were clearly running from something worse. And I thought, here's someone who needs help. I can handle that. And now," Claire whispered, "now I'm standing here at 6 in the morning, having just threatened a man's entire existence, and I can't remember the last time I felt this alive. This certain." Vincent's hands slid into her hair. "Now, I'm terrified because you could walk away and I'd let you, because I want you to be free. But I'm hoping desperately that you'll stay, not because you need to, because you want to." Claire's breath caught. "This is crazy. We've known each other 2 weeks. I know. You're a criminal. I know. I'm a mess. I'm broken and scared, and I don't even know who I am without someone telling me." "You're not broken." Vincent said it fiercely. "You're healing, and you're brave and brilliant and so beautiful it hurts to look at you. And I would wait years for you to see yourself the way I see you." "How do you see me?" The question came out barely audible. Like the first thing I've wanted to keep in 20 years of taking what I want. Claire made a sound halfway between a laugh and a sob. That's the most romantic and terrifying thing anyone's ever said to me. Get used to it. I'm not good at pretty words, but I'm very good at keeping what's mine safe. Vincent paused. If you want to be mine, if you want me to be yours, no pressure. You can stay in the guest house as long as you need regardless. I needed you to know. For answer, Claire pushed up on her toes and kissed him. Vincent froze for half a heartbeat, then pulled her closer, kissing her back with a hunger that stole her breath. His hands were gentle even as his kiss deepened, always giving her space to pull back, to say no, to change her mind. Claire pressed closer instead, fingers threading through his hair, pouring weeks of tension and want and trust into the kiss. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Vincent rested his forehead against hers. Stay, he breathed. Not in the guest house. Here, with me. I'm scared, Claire admitted. I'm scared I don't know how to do this healthy. I'm scared I'll fall apart. I'm scared you'll get tired of my nightmares and my baggage. I'm scared I'll be too controlling because I want to keep you safe. I'm scared my world will touch you and put you in danger. I'm scared I'll fail you. Vincent pulled back enough to meet her eyes. So let's be scared together. Let's figure it out together. Stay, Claire. Choose this. Choose me. Choose us. Okay, she whispered, then stronger. Yes, I'll stay. Vincent kissed her again, softer this time, reverent. I need to tell you something. My business. It's not entirely legal. You deserve to know what you're getting into. Claire laughed, the sound watery but genuine. Vincent, I figured that out when you casually mentioned making my ex-boyfriend disappear. I'm choosing you anyway. You're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. And shockingly, it was true. This man who'd picked her up in the rain, who'd given her safety and space, and then burned down her abuser's life when she whispered her pain in her sleep. This dangerous, complicated, surprisingly tender man felt like home. They spent the day talking. Really talking. Vincent told her about his family, the organization he'd inherited at 25, the lines he would and wouldn't cross. Claire told him about the years with Derek, the small erosions of self, the moment she'd realized she was going to die inside if she stayed. Never again, Vincent said fiercely, pulling her into his arms. You never make yourself smaller for anyone again, not even me, especially not me. What if we fight? Then we fight, and we talk, and we figure it out. But Claire, if I ever make you feel unsafe, if I ever cross a line, you tell me. Immediately. Promise me. I promise. Same goes for you. Vincent's smile was crooked. Sweetheart, you could burn down my entire empire, and I'd hand you the matches. I'm not worried about you crossing lines. The nickname sent warmth through her chest. Sweetheart. Too much? No. She nestled closer. It's perfect. The weeks that followed were a revelation. Vincent was demanding, but never demeaning, protective, but not possessive. He asked her opinions on everything from dinner plans to business decisions, seeming to genuinely value her thoughts. When the nightmares came, he held her until she settled, whispering reassurances into the dark. Claire started smiling again, laughing. She took a part-time job at a gallery downtown, using her maiden name, rebuilding her professional life. Vincent supported it without question, even though they both knew she didn't need the money. She needed the independence, the proof that she could stand on her own. But she chose to come home to him every night. 3 months after that first night in the rain, Vincent took her to dinner at the most exclusive restaurant in the city. Private room, candlelight, the kind of romantic setup that made Claire's heart race. What's the occasion? she asked, stunning in a deep blue dress he'd had made for her. Can't I take my girlfriend to dinner? You can, but you're nervous, I can tell. Vincent laughed. You know me too well already. So tell me what's wrong. Nothing's wrong. Everything's right. That's the problem. Vincent took her hand across the table, thumb stroking her knuckles. I have something for you. But first, I need to know, are you happy? Here? With me? With this life? Deliriously, Claire said honestly. Vincent, what's going on? He pulled a small box from his jacket, and Claire's breath stopped. I know it's fast, Vincent said, opening it to reveal a stunning emerald-cut diamond that caught the light like captured fire. I know we should probably wait. Be sensible. But I've never been sensible, and I've never been more sure of anything than I am of you, of us. Vincent, let me finish. He slid out of his chair, kneeling beside her, and Claire's vision blurred with tears. Claire Elizabeth Morrison, you walked into my life soaking wet and skittish, and so brave you took my breath away. Every day since, you've surprised me, challenged me, made me want to be better than I am. I love you. I'm in love with you. I want to wake up next to you for the rest of my life and fight off your nightmares and watch you build the gallery empire I know you're capable of. Marry me. Not because you need me, but because we choose each other every day. What do you say? Claire was crying openly now, not caring about her makeup or the elegant setting. You love me? Desperately. Did I not mention that? No, you absolute disaster of a man, you didn't. She laughed through tears. You told me I was worth everything and that you wanted to keep me and about 50 other intense declarations, but never that you love me. Vincent's smile was sheepish. I'm new at this, so? Is that a yes? That's a yes. Claire cupped his face in her hands. Yes, I'll marry you. I love you too. Have for weeks. I was just too scared to say it. Never be scared with me. Vincent slid the ring onto her finger, a perfect fit, then stood and pulled her into his arms, kissing her deeply while the waitstaff discreetly cheered from the doorway. When they broke apart, both grinning like idiots, Vincent murmured against her lips, I should probably mention that the wedding might be well attended. I have a large family. How large? Define large. Claire laughed. Vincent Moretti, what am I getting myself into? A lifetime of adventure, protection, bad jokes, and more love than you know what to do with. Sounds perfect. The wedding, 6 months later, was indeed well attended. Claire had expected something quiet, but Vincent's family and associates filled the cathedral. She recognized a few faces from the news, politicians, business leaders, people who probably shouldn't be in the same room together, but somehow were. Her new mother-in-law cried through the entire ceremony. Vincent's 3 brothers served as groomsmen and had already started treating Claire like a sister, protective and warm. Melissa flew in from California as maid of honor, pulling Claire aside before the ceremony. Are you sure about this? He's very intense. He's everything, Claire said, watching through the door as Vincent laughed with his brothers, looking younger and lighter than she'd ever seen him. He's home. Then I'm happy for you. Melissa hugged her tight. You deserve this. You deserve someone who looks at you like you hung the moon. The ceremony was beautiful. Claire walked down the aisle alone, chin high, choosing this moment, this man, this life with full awareness and joy. When Vincent saw her, his eyes went bright, and she could see him fighting back emotion. The vows they'd written themselves. Claire promised to be brave, to communicate, to never make herself small. Vincent promised to be gentle, to listen, to protect without controlling. They promised to choose each other every day, even when it was hard. When the priest said, "You may kiss your bride," Vincent framed Claire's face in his hands with devastating tenderness and kissed her like she was precious, like she was everything. "I love you," he whispered against her lips, "my wife, mine to cherish." "I love you," Claire whispered back. "My husband, mine to trust." The reception was a blur of champagne and dancing and joy. Vincent never left her side, his hand always finding hers, anchoring her when the crowd got overwhelming. He introduced her to everyone as "my brilliant wife," with such obvious pride that Claire's heart swelled. During their first dance, he pulled her close and murmured, "No regrets?" "Not a single one. You?" "Just that I didn't find you sooner." Vincent spun her out and back, holding her against his chest. "But we have now. We have forever." "Forever," Claire agreed, and meant it with every fiber of her being. Later that night, as they prepared to leave for their honeymoon, 2 weeks in Italy, away from the business and the city and everything but each other, Derek Hartwell was mentioned one final time. Vincent's brother Marcus pulled him aside. "You hear about Hartwell?" "What about him?" "Filed for bankruptcy, lost everything, moved somewhere in the Midwest, I think. Cincinnati, maybe." Vincent glanced at Claire, radiant in her going-away dress, laughing with Melissa. "Good. He's not our problem anymore." "You really did it, huh? The whole love and marriage thing. Never thought I'd see the day." "Neither did I." Vincent watched his wife, with wonder still fresh after months. "Best decision I ever made was pulling over that night." "What night?" "The night I found everything I didn't know I was missing." Claire crossed the room then, tucking herself against Vincent's side with the ease of belonging. He wrapped an arm around her automatically, dropping a kiss to her temple. "Ready to go?" she asked. "With you? Always?" As they drove away from the reception, Claire's head on Vincent's shoulder, ring glinting in the passing streetlights, she thought about that night in November. The rain, the fear, the desperate walk through downtown with nowhere to go. She'd been so broken then, so lost. "What are you thinking about?" Vincent asked, always attuned to her moods. "That night you picked me up, I was so scared, of you, of everything. I thought my life was over." Vincent's arm tightened around her. "And now?" Claire looked up at him, this dangerous man who'd shown her what safe really meant, who'd loved her back to life and asked only that she choose him in return. "Now, I think it was just beginning." Vincent kissed her softly, a promise and a claiming and a homecoming all at once. "Just beginning," he agreed. "We have a whole lifetime ahead of us." "Sweetheart." "Then let's not waste another moment." They didn't. Years later, when people asked Claire how she and Vincent met, she'd smile mysteriously and say, he picked her up on the worst night of her life. When they asked Vincent, he'd pull his wife close and say she got into his car and changed his world. Both were true. But the real story, the truth of it, was that two broken people found each other in the rain and chose to heal together, chose trust over fear, chose love over safety, chose each other every single day no matter what. And they lived happily, messily, perfectly ever after. The end. If you enjoyed the story, make sure to subscribe so you never miss the next chapter. Thank you for watching.